Welcome to the All Access Entertainment Podcast. I am your host, Joseph Bruen. This week, a very special star in the world of Facebook. When it comes to voice acting, we've seen you all over the world in so many iconic roles, and it's great to meet you online over the years. But this is going to be a very special interview, kind of covering your entire career. The legendary Larry Kenney.
Hey, Joe. How are you?
Very good. Thank you so much for being here and taking your time today to do this with us. It's going to be a pleasure.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
So, Larry, let's rewind to the very beginning, kind of, growing up as a child or young adult. If you remember some of your earliest memories of film or cartoons growing up.
Oh, my earliest memories that I watched when I was a kid. Is that what you're asking me? Oh, yeah, sure. Well, like everybody else, I grew up in the 50s. 1950s. As a kid, I liked, well, back then we had Westerns all the time on TV, Western series, cowboy shows, Gunsmoke, and, this cowboy hero and that cowboy hero. And I liked most of those. As far as cartoons, I loved, gosh, I'm getting stuck here now.
Oh, that's okay.
Looney Tunes, Warner Brothers, all that kind of thing. And of course, Disney. Sure. So I probably like the same kind of things that you would have liked if you were a kid at that time too. Right. I think we have the same kind of interests.
Absolutely. And I was always big into cartoons, growing up as a child. And, obviously watching those, you're kind of getting that in the brain of, without even knowing maybe that, hey, maybe this is something that I could do. At what point did you realize that and start to pursue that as a career?
Well, my mother used to tell me that from the time I could talk just about, I was mimicking television, cartoon characters and presidents and all that kind of thing. And I always enjoyed doing the voices. I found very early as a kid that the other kids will kind of think you're cool and hang around you if you're funny, and women especially. The girls, if you can make the girls laugh, you got a better shot with them,
Right.
And so I kept doing that in school. I was probably considered a what do you call it, class clown. I'm sure I was. I had a lot of report cards from my school years where teachers had written something like, Larry is a good student. He could do much better if he would put aside the jokes and funny little voices that he's doing all the time and concentrate on the material, So that was pretty much how I grew up. But so I always was the guy at parties and stuff who would say, do this impression, do that impression, or do this character. And then when I was 15 years old, 2 weeks before I turned 16, I got a chance to do a radio show on my local Peoria, Illinois, where I went to school. And I took it. And I was only on for 1 hour a week, but they paid me for 3 hours. I think I made 50 cents an hour, something like that, or 75 cents. We're talking about 1963 here,
Sure. Was that WIRL?
Yes, it was WIRL in Peoria. Yeah, Peoria, Illinois. So and then they finally gave me, after a year or so, my own 4-hour show on the air each day. I play records, play the Beatles and Sam Cooke and all that stuff. And but instead of commercials, or during the commercial breaks and everything, I would do little funny character bits, with character voices and things like that. And I kept that up all through my own radio career. Through Fort Wayne, Indiana, WOWO, and then I went to Cleveland, WKYC, an NBC station, and then Chicago, and then finally in New York. And once I got to New York, I was still doing the voices on my radio show. But I learned that here, where most of the commercials are done and the cartoon shows are done here in Los Angeles. You make a lot more money, doing commercials if you could do well at that than sitting in the radio studio for 4 hours a day. Talking. I enjoyed the radio show. In fact, after I stopped doing it in my own show in 1970, when was it? 76 or something like that. I joined the Imus in the Morning show. If you're familiar with that, syndicated radio show, and then became a syndicated TV show. And I was with him for 35 years. So on that show, I was doing characters, both, we were on TV too. And so we had to do makeup and all that kind of stuff. And then, but shortly before that, I began learning that you can make more money doing commercials. And so I started auditioning for commercials. And I was fortunate that I could audition for commercials for straight announcer, just, so go buy something today, not sold in any stores, that kind of thing. From that to the character voices, cartoon voices. And as a matter of fact, one of the first big jobs I got in the commercial field was Count Chocula, the voice of Count Chocula on the TV commercials. Yeah. I did that for 40 years. Wow. And at the same time, I was doing the voice of Sonny, the cuckoo bird on the Coco Puffs bird. And I did that also for 40 years. So, I left radio, and ever since then, I've just done commercials. I'm still doing commercials. I still do the Skittles commercials. I've been doing those for about 25 years. Where at the end, a guy says, "Feel the rainbow, taste the rainbow." That's me.
Ah, yes.
And I'm still doing a couple of cartoon series. I'm on Pokémon Horizons. And I realized I just gave you the finger. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that.
Too early for that. Come on. Yeah.
Pokémon Horizons. I'm playing a character called Ludlow on that show. And I'm on Teen Titans Go now, a character called the Chief. So I'm still at it.
And you've played Ludlow for about 8 seasons or more now, right?
No, I don't think so. I think it's only been 2 or 3.
2 or 3. Okay.
Yeah. We just started that about a year and a half ago.
And what has that experience been like so far?
Oh, it's been great. I really enjoy doing animated anime. I don't know, it's a lot because it embodies what I started out doing in the first place is character voices, and impressions, and things like that. And it's a lot of fun, there's never anything that's down and I don't know, a cartoon show usually that's dark, or it's a kid's show. It's fun, So I really enjoy doing those. And I still enjoy doing commercials too.
Now, obviously, commercials. You've done Skittles. You've done Campbell's soup. You've done so many. Are there any others that stand out that you've enjoyed over the years?
Oh gosh, there's been so many. I was the voice of Miller Beer for a long time. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So many. Some people might remember. Carnation presents The Adventures of Mighty Dog. Mighty Dog eating, and then he goes and does all of this.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Now, if you had to guess, how many commercials do you think you did roughly?
Thousands.
Wow.
Thousands.
That is impressive for sure.
Could be tens of thousands. I've been doing this for 62 years.
Sure. And it's great to see that you're still doing it so actively today, and still with it with all these jobs. So that's fantastic. When it comes to the jobs, let's enlighten the fans a little bit. When you're doing specifically a cartoon series, is that something that you're flown out and you're doing the voices there? Are you doing them from home? And what kind of time do you put into a series? How long per day? That sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll start with THUNDERCATS. That was the first big series I did back in the 80s. For Rankin Bass. We would record, we ended up doing 165 episodes, is it, or 165 episodes, which is, I guess, standard for syndication. If you want to syndicate a cartoon show or an animated show, you usually, once you recorded 130, once you recorded 130, then you put it on, usually you stop doing it because you get tired of run out of ideas. The writers run out of ideas, and, you want to move on. So we would work on THUNDERCATS. We would work, for example, 2 days a week. 2 days a month, a Thursday and a Friday, and we do 2 shows on each of those days. Now you may ask, why in the world didn't you just do some every day, and get them all done?
Yeah.
Well, you have to give the artist time to illustrate it, to draw it. Back then, it was being hand drawn,
Sure.
no computers, and they have to give the writers a chance to write some new scripts. So it was stretched out over about a year's period, I guess, to do one season.
And obviously, you played Lion-O on Thundercats as well as other characters. Did you have a favorite character to perform on that show?
On Thundercats?
Yeah.
Thundercats? Well, Lion-O was the one I'm best known for, obviously.
Sure.
But there were a couple of them. There were only 5 of us in the cast, and we 5 did every voice you hear on that show, 130 episodes. Wow. So, you have to have a pretty wide range to be able to do lots of different kinds of voices.
Right.
Now, each of us played one Thundercat. I played Lion-O. And then you would play over the years, you would play villains and, other people. So, like most actors, I enjoy playing villains most. You can really overact. We call it chew the scenery. You can just really lay it out there. So one of the main bad guys I played on Thundercats was a Jackal Man, character named Jackal Man. We must get the Thundercats, yes. I even smile when I do him because it's so much fun to do a mean, nasty character,
Yeah, absolutely. And what does it take to kind of pull a character like you just did together? How do you remember when you do so many voices? How do you remember each one just on the fly? You can pull it out.
That's a good question. That's a good question. Naturally, let's say we had been doing the show for 100 episodes already, and each of us had already done 50, 60 voices on that period of time. And then one day, the writers decided they want to bring back one character or 2 characters that we haven't done for, a year.
Yeah.
So then what we could do is have the engineers would play it back for us. They would give us what they call a reference. Take one that was already recorded and play a little bit of it. And then usually, for each of us, it usually would remind us of exactly how to do the voice,
Sure.
Sometimes it was, you had to practice a little bit to do a voice that you were doing a year ago.
Right. And I'm sure it's different for everybody, but how much time do you kind of need your vocals to rest in between doing these gigs? Do you set yourself some time, an allotment where you can just kind of relax, or are you just into it every week?
Well, not so much anymore. I'm kind of semi-retired. I don't even go into the city maybe a couple of times a month. But I used to be in every day, doing commercials and radio show. And I did a TV show for 3 years in New York, game show. I never had that much of a problem with my voice. I guess my vocal cords are pretty strong because I don't recall any extended period of time in my career, and that's 64 years as it is, where I had to take time off to let it heal or anything like that. And as far as preparation, I usually, before a session, I usually have a little warm water with honey and lemon juice. And that really kind of, mostly what it does is relax your vocal cords. So you can have full range, But that's about it. Everybody's different. I know some actors, they come in the studio and the first 10 minutes, they do their little exercises, Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
I just kind of laugh at them, It's like you're learning how to talk. What is this? How old are you? But, everybody's got their own little way of doing things. And I just get in there and talk.
You mentioned Teen Titans Go. Obviously you've done Thundercats Roar was another one, right? The spinoff in 2020.
Yeah. That was the last one, the most recent one, I should say.
Yep.
Yeah, I played Jaga on that one, as I recall.
Yes.
Earl Hammond, of course, who played him originally, had passed away. And then we also did one in 2011, a redo of Thundercats that I thought was done very well. it didn't last very long, and I still am surprised by that. Well, I'm not surprised, but I wish it had lasted longer. There's so many reasons the shows do get canceled. I mean, you can have the best writers in the world, the best actors, the best director, the best music, and all that stuff. But there are factors that will make that. Well, there are factors that no matter how good those things you have, things that can hurt the show. Like, for example, if the network it's on doesn't promote it enough, they don't run promos during the week saying, "Hey, this Saturday at 9." A big factor too is what time slot they give it. If they put it on Friday nights at 8:00, that's beautiful, But if they put it on at 2:00 in the morning on Thursdays, you're not going to get very good ratings for it.
And on the flip side of that, in your opinion, how is it that a show can, what does it take for a show to continue on? Like Thundercats has been, obviously they were a little shorter in the newer runs, but still it continues on. It's something that just always comes back, and what gives it that success, you think?
Boy, I wish I could tell you. I wish I could bottle it,
Yeah.
But like I said, there are so many factors that you can't control. When we started Thundercats, here's a question people always ask me, and you may have been getting ready to ask me, is did we know back then that Thundercats was going to be a big hit?
Right.
You never know. I will say that from the very beginning, after we recorded like 3 episodes, we were having lunch one day, and somebody said, this is a good show. We all kind of laugh because your agent calls you to do a job, and you go do a job and you get paid for it and everything. And not every job you do is something you enjoy, but this one was, and we were all having a great time with it. And so we said, yeah, the writing is great, everything is great. I love that music, and we're obviously great. I think we've got a chance, and it takes a while. And then the ratings start coming in. Pardon me, I'm sorry, Joe. I got a little bit of laryngitis.
No problem at all. No.
Little New Year's Day after thing.
I'm in the same boat.
Yeah. So ratings started coming in, and he said, "Wow!" I'll tell you, the first time I knew personally that the show was a big hit, I was Christmas shopping about 2 weeks before Christmas at Toys R Us. May they rest in peace. Remember Toys R Us?
Yes.
And I remember that the time I had been there previously, a few months earlier, there were the toy section. Well, it's all toy section at Toys R Us, but they had like one aisle of Thundercat stuff, both sides. And they might have had like 3 of He-Man and 3 aisles of Ninja Turtles, whatever else was big at the time,
Yeah.
But there was one, and this particular time I walked in, I look up and there's 3 aisles of nothing but Thundercat stuff on both sides.
Wow.
And I said, we got a hit.
We made it. Yes, exactly.
And I started to walk down one of the aisles, pardon me. And there were 2 young guys, I don't know, probably 7 to 10 years old, our target audience, standing there in front of the section with the action figures of each character. And I kind of slowly walked by so I could eavesdrop. And as I got by, I heard one of them say, "I'm going to get Panthro. He's the cool one. I really like Panthro." The other guy says, "No, I think I'll get Tiger. I like Tiger because he's got the whip and everything like that." I couldn't help myself. I kind of leaned in. I said, "Hey guys, why don't you get Lion-O? He's the star. He's the one that says Thundercats. Ho!" And they looked at me like I was crazy. Well, this old guy comes walking in, and probably thought I was a pedophile. Hanging out in the toy section, But so I laughed. I thought it was funny. I'm walking away. Then I heard the one kid say to the other one, "He doesn't even sound like Lion-O."
That's great.
I thought, man, if you only knew, if that kid only knew, he'd be peeing his pants right now.
Right.
In fact, to this day, I tell this story all the time, and I'm hoping that one of those 2 guys will happen to see me talking about it on this show or something else, and come to a Comic-Con and let me know. Say, "Hey, I was one of those 2 kids." I want to see what became of them.
Yes. And that was actually my next question. Let's talk about that. Fast forward, Comic-Cons come about. They're all over the world. And you're doing these conventions, these Comic-Cons. You're having the opportunity to, see the products in person and all the vendors, but you're having the opportunity to, meet all of the fans, which is the most important part of it all. And what is it like? What's that experience been like to kind of been able to see them and have them relive their childhood through you in person?
Oh man, I'll tell you, it's really it's heartwarming. It's very touching. People will come up to my table sometimes, and sometimes they'll be standing in line for 15 or 20 minutes for their turn, and sometimes people will just look at all my prints that I sign for autographs, and because I have the whole thing. I have Count Chocula and Coco Puffs, and I have Thundercats and Tiger Sharks and Silverhawks and all that kind of stuff. Sprinkles, Skittles. And sometimes they'll say, Mr. Kenney, you were my childhood. You're the voice of my childhood. And I know what they mean, because back in the 70s and 80s, some of the early 90s, you couldn't get away from my voice on TV. I was doing commercials for Milton Bradley, all the toys, and G.I. Joe and his men go around the corner, and so when somebody tells me, they say, gee, it's so great to meet you. I feel like I know you, from hearing my voice all those years. And that's for somebody that they never got to see. They never saw on TV. They never saw me on TV. Yeah. So it seemed like it was kind of unusual to me but people seem to equate me with that, like they've known me for their whole life. And that really makes me feel good.
And have you had a favorite city or country to travel to for Comic-Cons? Is there a favorite Comic-Con that stands out, or you just enjoy all of them the same?
Well, they're all very much the same now. You probably go to them, and you knew that.
Yes.
They're run the same way, most of them. Some are run better, than others. One of my favorite ones is Terrificon in Connecticut.
Yes.
At the Mohegan Sun Casino. It's only about an hour and a half from my house, for one thing. That's why I like it so much. Yeah. But there's a couple in Florida that are great. I just love to go anywhere and meet new people, not only the fans, but, the other actors that I never get to see or work with.
Sure.
It's really great to meet some of those guys back in the green room, and sometimes we'll go out to dinner. And, oh, wow, I remember a couple of years ago, one of the greatest nights of my life, we were having dinner with George Takei.
Yes.
And, oh man, what a guy he is. He's such a great storyteller, and his story is great. He was in the concentration camp during World War II, a Japanese internment camp, they called it. They couldn't leave. I shouldn't smile even at that, but he tells that story, and lots of other stories. And it's fun just to sit there at the table with him and watch other people as they come in, and people go, they walk by and they go, is that who I think it is?
Right.
Yeah.
Now, I had the privilege of meeting both you and George Takei at Rhode Island Comic-Con many years back. And I also met you at Terrificon, which you mentioned. Two of those cons here in New England. I'm a New England guy, so, those mean a lot to me, especially Rhode Island Comic-Con. It's my personal favorite. Any fan interactions stand out more than the other? Would you say you have a favorite over the years?
Well, gee, I don't know. One very funny thing is my wife and I were. This isn't about a Comic-Con actually. It's a fan thing, though.
Sure.
This was back in the 1970s. I was doing a game show in New York, Bowling for Dollars, and it was on every night from 7 to 7:30 and in New York, so everybody knew who I was. And my wife and I and daughter were having dinner in a restaurant, and I noticed a couple of elderly ladies sitting a little away from us, with the blue hair and the pink hair, the way they wore it back then, And I noticed they kept looking over, and talking. I figured, okay, they recognized me. They got up to leave, and I had just put a fork full of food in their mouth, and this one they walk by, and this one woman grabs my shoulder, and she says, "Hey." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She says, "You know how I recognized you? You're Larry Kenney, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am." do you know how I recognize you? And I said, how? And she said, by your face. And she walked away. I'm like,
That's a good one.
how else? But okay, she recognized me by my face. I'll have
Right.
to cover that up the next time I come in.
Yeah, exactly. Go incognito next time you're there, right?
Yeah.
So when it comes to other cartoons you've been a part of, Silverhawks, obviously, Bluegrass was a big character for you there. Any experience with Silverhawks that stands out? Any memories?
Well, it was the exact same crew, It was the same cast, basically. We had one or two people in Silverhawks that were not in the first two, I think. Jerry Ann Raphael was one, and Maggie, gosh, I forget her name. She was on the Seinfeld show for years. So it was basically the same group of people. The producer was the same, director was the same engineers and all that. So it ran just pretty much like the way Thundercats had, because it was all the same people, and same type of material. I don't recall any major differences in Silverhawks. Or Tiger Sharks, for that matter. We also did a series called Tiger Sharks, which didn't last nearly as long. They had run out of ideas, I think, by then.
Right. How important do you feel that the toy lines are? Because nowadays kids are into video games and stuff like that. But, back when I was a child, even toys were so influential. Like you mentioned, Toys R Us, such an important part of childhood in general.
Sure.
And, if there was a big series or a big cartoon, well, there'd be a toy line to go with it. And they don't have that now, and how do you feel about how that's kind of transitioned into what we have today?
Well, I think we still have it. I mean, action figures are still very big. And I think the difference now is most of the sales are to collectors, people who are in their 30s and 40s, who were kids when the show was on.
Right.
And people bring me things sometimes that they had when they were a little kid, 40 years old. I mean, the items are 40 years old,
Yeah.
And it's so cool to see them bring the little lunchbox or an action figure or a thunder tank, or something like that. That was one of the originals. But the companies are still making new action figures. Bandai did them originally, I think. But lately, Super 7, the company Super 7, has made a whole new bunch of Lion-Os, 4 or 5 of them. What they're doing now is taking one episode that was kind of a unique episode, like let's say the time Lion-O got frozen, and couldn't move, and they made now a Lion-O that from that episode, that when you put him in the freezer, he turns all blue and everything. But when you put him back out in the sun, he turns back to his normal color.
Wow, very specific. I like that.
Yeah, and they've got one out that's he's all red for some reason. I don't know what that's about. But the toys and action figures are still a very big business. I think one of the reasons it may not seem like that is we're not inundated with toy commercials anymore the way we used to be. When you and I weren't kids at the same time, but even back in the 80s, man, Saturdays and Sundays, there was almost nothing but toy cartoons on G.I. Joe and whatever, Thundercats stuff. But I don't see too many of those anymore. Of course, I don't watch Saturday morning cartoons anymore either.
Right. The creative process. Let's talk about the creative process behind a character. Do they give you a lot of the information to kind of go off of, or do they kind of just give you a picture and kind of expect you to create the voice just from the picture alone? How does that usually work?
Well, they hold auditions, and they'll call your agent and say, we'd like him to come and audition for this new show we've got. We got there, as I recall. I got there, and of course, there's 40 or 50 other people waiting to go in and audition. They auditioned, I think they told me they auditioned 200 people for Lion-O on both East and West coasts. And you go in, and the walls are lined with pictures and illustrations of the characters, a paragraph about them. Lion-O is the Lord of the Thundercats. He is the son of Jaga, and his power is Sword of Omens, and that's about it. And then they say, they give you some time, and when it's your turn to go in, they ask you which we want each of you to read for one Thundercat and one bad guy, what do we call them? Mutant, the evil mutants. So I read for Lion-O and I read for Jackalman, and luckily I got both of those. And that's about it. And, they tell you, like I said, they tell you what this character's role in the show is, of course, and a little bit about him. He used to be this or he used to be that. But in terms of the voice, they leave that pretty much up to you. That's why they have you come in and audition. They did tell us that they didn't want any of the Thundercats themselves, Lion-O, Chitara, Tigra, Panthro, Jaga, to sound like, they didn't want cartoon voices. They wanted just to use our natural human voice and then we use the cartoon voices for the mutants. Oh, okay. But because Lion-O's voice, for example, is just my voice. I didn't make up any string. It's just like, the difference is I'm talking to you here, I'll say something like, Sword of Omens, come to my hand, I, Lion-O, command it. On TV, it comes out, Sword of Omens, come to my hand, I, Lion-O, command it. A little more dramatic, but it's still just basically my voice.
Your voice amped up.
Yeah, that's about it.
When it comes specifically to the characters of cereal, obviously, like you said, you did Count Chocula and the Coco Puffs, the Cuckoo Bird. Did you have a favorite between the two to perform, or just the same?
I like them pretty much both the same. Sunny was a lot of fun to do because just like the mutants are more fun because you can just go crazy. Well, that was Sunny the Cuckoo Bird's whole thing. I'm cuckoo for Coco Puffs. Yahoo! He was fun to do, but of course the Count is always fun too, in a different way, Count Chocula Cereal with chocolate flavored marshmallows in every bite.
And all of these great characters, you bring them to life. And obviously, like we talked about, all the merchandise that comes out. Do you try to collect all of the different merchandise of characters that you have performed?
I do not. I have some things that people have given me, but I don't have anything that I bought it or it was given to me 30 years ago. I don't have any of that old stuff. I wish I had. Who knew? Who knew that just like baseball cards. When I was a kid, we collected baseball cards and mostly used them to make our bicycles sound like motorcycles. We put them in the spokes. Gee, I've forgotten your question now. That happens when you get old,
Oh, that's okay. No, just wondering if you collect any of the items of your characters.
I do have, I don't know if you see back here, but I've got one of the large, it's not in here now, it's in my office. I have a few things, but gosh, the people that come to me have rooms full. They'll show me pictures. I see behind you, there's quite a few collectibles back there.
Yes, I'm a big fan of PVC figures, so I've got all the characters from the 80s and 90s, even the 70s. I'm a weak when it comes to PVC. If I find one I don't have, I try to add it to the collection. And obviously the Ninja Turtles, big Star Wars guy. When I was a kid, I was huge into He-Man and Thundercats. Mm-hmm. Now it's a little tough to get the Thundercats and the He-Man back. They're so expensive.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yeah. But that is a goal, though. Eventually, we'll get back into Thundercats and He-Man for sure.
Good. I've never been a collector. When I was a kid, I didn't collect stamps or coins or anything. Like I said, baseball cards, but not like some people collected boxes and boxes of them.
Yeah. When I was a kid, the first time that I ever discovered Thundercats, my mom and I were driving home from the beach, and there was this yard sale on the side of the road, and they had these huge bags, these trash bags filled with toys, and it was only $10 a bag. I think they were moving, so they're just take it, and we bought 2 of the bags. We didn't know what was in them. We get them home, we open them up, and they were completely filled with all of the Thundercats and He-Man figures. Wow.
No kidding.
It was just a fun moment as a kid to discover them all one by one and look through them all. And I was kind of hooked from that point on. So
I was going to say that was probably the genesis of your being the He-Man and Thundercats fan.
definitely, yeah, that started
You
it
know,
for me.
speaking of the merchandise, that's what they refer to it in the business. You go and buy some merch, some merchandise.
Yes.
Some of it now is enormous. Cat's Lair, which is where the Thundercats lived.
Yes.
There's a new one out now. It came out last year. That is, oh gosh, I don't know. It's this, you can't see it, but it's probably about 4 feet high and 3 feet wide, maybe even bigger than that. It's just enormous. I think it's $6,000. And there's a new Thunder Tank that is about this long. It's about 18 inches long, I guess. It will hold all 5 action figures of the Thundercats in that car. And that car fits in the Cat's Lair. Can you imagine that?
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
They know what they're doing.
I've been sending a lot of those lately. People
Yeah.
come in these enormous boxes, and we know what they are. They're either the Sword of Omens, which is about this long, or Thunder Tank or Cat's Lair. They're huge.
Do you find that most people keep them in the boxes when they're getting them signed?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They don't walk around with those. Yeah. I think at some Comic-Cons, you have to have the Sword of Omens in a box, which is kind of strange because most of these Comic-Cons, as you know, there are at least 1 or 2 vendors that each show that make swords and sell all kinds of swords, steel swords, plastic swords, wooden swords, and things like that.
Right.
And there are several versions of the Sword of Omens, a dagger like this and a longer one. And I don't have mine out here, but and the Sword of Omens is, I mean, it could be used for a real sword. You can't pick it up with one hand. You have to pick it up with both hands. And it's not like razor sharp, but it could do some damage. So some of the Comic-Cons say, if you want to bring it in, have it boxed up, taped, take it to the office first. We'll take it out and take it to Larry's table for you. He can sign it, and then you tape it back up in the box because you're not going to walk around in here with that sword,
Right. Yeah.
open.
Well, yeah, that is strange with vendors selling the same thing. I guess that is kind of a gray area, but it is what it is. Any memories of Karate Cat from the comic strip?
Well, Karate Cat was one of 4 15-minute series that we did that was put together for a 2-hour show on ABC on Saturday mornings called the Comic Strip. It was the Karate Cat and Street Frogs. Oh gosh, I forget the other 2. But Karate Cat, the thing first comes into my mind is on the internet, I'm listed as doing the voice of Karate Cat, but it wasn't me. It was Bob Caliban, who was the voice of Frankenberry Cereal and the voice of Snarf on Thundercats. And the character I did do on Karate Cat was this great big fat Cheshire cat. And his name was Boom Boom Burmese. You better be careful, Karate. I hear Big Mama's coming.
That's a good one. I like that one. That's great.
Fun show to do because all the characters with silly voices like that. Bob McFadden, as I said, did he was Karate Cat. Kiao, baby. Very cool.
Now, as a voice actor, do you find yourself only attempting to do these voices when you get the roles, or in between, just even at home, are you practicing new voices along the way just to kind of get different ideas, or not so much?
No, I've never, actors each have their own process, and I've just always been the kind of guy that if I can do a voice, I do it. If I can't do it, I'm not going to sit around for 3 hours and tape it and listen to it and tape it and listen to it and tape it and listen to it. I just somehow I automatically know when I hear a voice if I can do that or not. Now there are some that I'll say, okay, let me try that, and no, horrible, because I know there are guys who can do it better. And frankly, I wouldn't even want to be doing a voice of a character on TV if I knew there were other people out there who should have done it. They were better at it than me. So I never did really practice or rehearse.
Now, with all the great series and all the great characters and projects that you have been a part of, is there one that got away, one that you were hoping to get, and for whatever reason you didn't get that one, and you kind of regret it?
I honestly can't remember. I don't want to. I'm not trying to sound braggy, but I don't remember. And of course, there may have been some that I didn't even know I was up for, and then got. Right. But no, there. Of course, like any actor, you're going to get lots of rejections. You're going to lose a lot of auditions. Like I said, for Lionel, they auditioned a couple of hundred people in both L.A. and New York, and I'm sure a lot of them were very, very good. Why they picked me exactly, I don't know. But again, there are reasons why you get chosen for certain jobs, I think, and reasons why you don't for others that we'll never know. I mean, they don't tell you we didn't hire you for that job because you just never hear from them. Oh, okay. I mean, you go audition, and if you get the job, your agent will call you within a couple of days and say, "Hey, you booked that, and here's when you start recording." If you don't get the job, they don't call you. So you say, "Well, I didn't get that one."
Right. And you mentioned working for Don Imus. Imus in the Morning, such a mega show for so many years, and you were there from 1973 until 2007. Any particular memories from working on that show and being a part of that?
None that I can talk about.
Yeah.
That was a wild ride.
Yeah.
Any memories from that show? Well, gosh, I'm sure there are that just don't pop into my head. I really had a good time doing that, especially when we went on the road with it. We took the TV show on the road, to different cities, and that was a lot of fun. Gosh, I mean, I just don't have one memory or two memories that pop up that happened during the show. It was only 35 years, so if we had gone a little longer, maybe there would have been some.
Right. Now, advice. What advice do you have for somebody who's looking to get into the industry and has been wanting to voice act for quite a while now?
I tell them, don't do it, because there are enough of us in this field already. There are enough jobs that we can't get because of No, I always kind of dance around that question these days because things have changed so much. When I started in the business, pretty much the only people who were doing commercials were stage actors, TV actors. Most movie actors wouldn't do them back then. They felt it was beneath them, to just do a commercial. Then until they started realizing, talking to some of us about how much money we made.
Yes, exactly.
So what was that question again? I'm sorry.
Oh, we were talking about the creative voices, and then where do I leave off? Oh,
you forgot too.
Yes, I forgot. Oh, advice you have for up and coming.
Yes. Back then, I would have advised them to take classes. I still think that's the best way to do it. With computers today, you can go online and in fact, here's what I do tell the kids if they really want to get into it. Go online and Google in your area voice acting classes, voice coaches, voice teachers, things like that. Take a class, see if you like it, learn something about it, and then you can go out and try to get an agent. That's the next thing.
Yeah,
it's a very tough process. The internet now is full of ads of people who will say, we'll make you a voice actor. Send us a tape and $200 and we'll call you if we get a job for you. It's a ripoff. Right. And of course, there still are lots of good teachers and coaches online. But I always recommend that people, let's say, Google voice coaches, voice classes in your area. Read it over. Usually they last maybe a couple of months long, let's say 2 or 3 nights a week for a couple hours. I have no idea what they would charge these days, probably $1,000 or something like that. And you take these classes, and along the way, they'll bring in people from different aspects of the business, advertising agents, actors, directors, producers. will come in and to speak to your class for that night, So you get to kind of meet a lot of them, get to know people in the business, what they call networking. And then you'll have a disc. It used to be a tape. We call it a demo reel, but now it's a CD, which the coaches or the people teaching you will help you make at the end of the 3 or 4 months or whatever it is. That shows what you can do. It shows your range of voices, your talent, what you can do in your dialects or things like that. They will help you put that together. It should be 2.5, 3 minutes long, and then you can take that to agents and or I guess take it to. See, that's why I don't know. Things have changed so much. I guess you could take it to a store and say, if you do radio commercials, I'd like to do them, and here's what I sound like. And it's a whole different business today.
Yeah, it has
But
changed.
that's
a
my
little bit.
advice. I still suggest that they take classes. Yeah.
And when it comes to voice actors, obviously you're one of the greats when it comes to voice acting, but are there others that even you look up to or have looked up to over the years?
Well, Mel Blanc, of course, is my idol. And for people who don't know, he was one of the first major superstar voice actors. He was all of the characters on what I forget, Looney Tunes or Warner Brothers.
Warner Brothers, yeah.
It was Warner Brothers. He was Porky Pig, the Rabbit, Bugs Bunny,
yep,
and all those other characters. That was him doing all of those things back in the 40s and 50s. There was a guy named he had kind of an unusual name, Dawes Butler, who was really good. Yeah, I can't say there are any other people today that I think are that I admire, or well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, there are a lot of people that I think are really good. I just don't have any heroes anymore.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
And all the experiences that you've had and have been a part of your entire career thus far, is there a number one moment that sticks out to you if you had to pick one from your entire career, maybe your favorite moment?
Gosh. Well, you asked some tough questions. Can I think about that and write to you and tell you what it is? No,
Absolutely.
Gee, there's been so many thousands of great moments. I've had an incredibly lucky career, and I worked really hard. I've been doing this since I was 15 years old, and I'm 78 now. And I've met everybody in show business. A lot of them through the Imus show. He would always have famous people on. Worked with so many famous people that I can't just give you one idea what would be a great. I'll tell you one. Once I started going to Comic-Cons, I had one of the biggest thrills. I was sitting at my table in might have been Providence. I don't know where you've been to Providence. You said,
Yeah.
But anyway, standing there to my table, and there was a bit of a line of people waiting for me. So I say, thank you very much. And I look up and Mark Hamill had been standing in my line for about 10 minutes to get my autograph.
Wow.
Oh, come on.
Fantastic.
I looked up, I said, are you kidding me? He said, I'm a big fan. Well, he owns an animation studio, and he's very heavily into animation.
Sure.
So, but he's a big fan too. And I thought, man, that's pretty cool.
What a treat. Yeah.
Somebody like him is waiting to get my autograph.
Right, exactly.
I still think somebody put him up to it as a joke.
I doubt it. I mean, you're certainly well respected and have just been a part of so many memories, whether they're other celebrities or not. They all look up to you the same way. So, first and foremost, thank you so much for all of your contributions and everything you've done for the business. And I've always been a fan of voice acting and admired it. So, you, in my opinion, are one of the giants in this industry. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Joe. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that. And thanks for talking to me.
Absolutely. And in closing, Fast forward many years from now, you're looking back at your entire career as a whole. You know, what do you want your legacy to be? How do you want to be remembered?
He was a nice guy. That's it. I'd like to be remembered as a nice guy.
Yeah. And that,
I mean, in terms of my career, he was very talented. He was had a very long career and was very talented and also very lucky. And he was a nice guy.
Well, Larry, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you here. For the great Larry Kenney, I'm Joseph Bruen. This has been the All Access Entertainment Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you, the fans, and we will see you all next time. Thank you again, Larry.
Thank you, Joe. Bye-bye, everybody.